Hi folks, and welcome back to the channel today for another video featuring the Alienware M17 R3 gaming laptop. Today, we're diving headfirst into a gaming performance test to see how the laptop handles a game, Rainbow Six Siege, see how the temperatures perform, the CPU and the GPU usages, and so much more. If you haven't already, I highly recommend you check out the video I previously did unboxing an initial review of the Alienware M17 R3. I'll make sure to leave it in a card up above and in the description bar down below for you to check it out. With that in mind, let's dive straight in. If at any point in this video you find yourself wondering about the specs of the Alienware M17 R3, I'll make sure to leave the specs down in the description bar down below, along with links to the sites to where you can find more information about them and potentially even purchase the laptop. So I've had this laptop for a little over a week now at the time of filming this video, so I've developed a really solid understanding and a good impression of how it handles different things, different games, and all my kind of needs that I need it for. I decided I wanted to give this laptop a solid performance test, and I did that on my Twitch channel last Friday night. There'll be a link in the description bar down below to my Twitch channel where you can come join me 5 nights a week for some awesome vibes and good times. So I hooked my laptop up to my stream and loaded up some Rainbow Six Siege on the very high overall quality setting to see how it performed. I was hesitant to run it on Ultra because of my past issues with Rainbow Six Siege. I've played it on many different computers in the past and it hasn't always run very well, even on very high in the past. So I've tried it on very high to see how it performed, and I've also tried it on Ultra later, which I will also mention later in the video. There isn't that really big of a difference anyways between very high and ultra, only about 80 to 100 megabytes in video memory on very high as opposed to ultra. So as you're seeing on your screen now, I installed a system performance tracking overlay so that way I could keep an eye on temperatures and CPU usages and GPU usages. That way I could help myself compile this video for you guys. For the first few games after loading the laptop up, it seemed to keep up a solid 60 to 65% of CPU and GPU usages, with the GPU clocking in at 77 Celsius at its max temperature and the CPU hitting 94 Celsius at its max. Now, with these temperatures in mind, there was no noticeable differences in either performance or comfort. When I say comfort, I'm referring to handling the laptop, typing on the keyboard, using and picking up the laptop. Obviously, the laptop got a little warmer than when you first turned it on. That's as to be expected. You're putting the laptop under immense stress to run a video game. But it was nothing that I personally could not handle, and I think most people would be able to handle it. I like to compare it to if you're using your phone for a longer extent of time, saying watching a longer YouTube video, and it just gets that natural warmth to it. The laptop did a really solid job of capturing the FPS of Rainbow Six Siege. I've now run both Siege and Grand Theft Auto 5 on the computer since I have had the laptop, and they've both run really well. Siege, I think personally, has run better than GTA 5 on the computer, with Siege not dropping below 160 frames a second during intensive gameplay and maxing out at what I've been able to tell as 212 FPS. As expected, there were drops in FPS throughout. You're going to get that on any system you play on, a gaming PC, a laptop, or anything like that. But it wasn't a drop that made it difficult to play the game or made it really hard to watch or anything like that. Once you get beyond that 130 and 140 frames a second kind of ballpark, it's hard to notice drops of that kind of 10 or 15 FPS. As you'd expect, menus are a little easier to run on laptops and PCs alike, but this computer did a really good job of running the menus. I've had gaming PCs in the past not be able to reach the FPS and the CPU performance on the menus of Siege. This one maxed out at over 600 frames a second, I believe 612 to be more specific. Some of the maps on Rainbow Six Siege, as you'd know, there's quite a plethora of maps and they're very well designed and well built together, and they've got a lot of detail in them. Some of the maps put a little more pressure and a little more strain on the laptop to perform and to do it well, but it wasn't anything, again, noticeable that made the computer work any harder. While we're talking about making the laptop work harder, let's talk about fan noise. I asked my chat many times if they were able to hear any kind of background noise, whether it be a fan or anything at all, and they were not able to hear a single thing at all. And I took my headphones off at many points to see and monitor the fan noise. Obviously, the fans are going to work a little harder when you're playing a video game, but it was very, very quiet compared to some even gaming PCs that I've owned. When we talk about gaming laptops, we obviously have to acknowledge the keyboard, the inbuilt one that comes with the M17. The one on the M17 is going to be far larger than that of the M15 because of the screen size and the actual sheer size of the laptop. I've used gaming laptops in the past and I've never found a gaming laptop keyboard that suits me really well. I've always been one that's preferred to plug an external into any kind of laptop, gaming or not, because I don't really like laptop keyboards. But this laptop keyboard is really, really solid, and really I found myself clinging on and getting comfortable with very, very quickly after about an hour and 15 in. When the CPU and GPU temperatures increased, there was no kind of huge difference in temperatures of the keys. Obviously, they were a little warmer than when you first turned them on, but nothing that can't be handled. Obviously, if you're not comfortable with using the inbuilt keyboard on the laptop, that is totally okay. There's many USB ports which you can plug a USB keyboard into. Let's not forget to mention the RAM of the laptop and see how it handled that. It maintained a constant 29% usage and maintaining a 9.3 out of 31.8 gig usage of the laptop's total RAM, which is pretty good. As time went on with the games and I played for longer periods of time, I genuinely expected the laptop to get warmer and the performance to decline. I was really happy to see it maintain the same things it was doing at the beginning of the session as it did at the end of the session, the same frame rates, the same GPU performances and CPU performances the entire way throughout. The keyboard was no noticeably warmer at the beginning as against the end. It was no huge difference. Obviously, it was going to be a little warmer when you ran Siege as opposed to not running Siege, but from the beginning of the gaming session to the end of the gaming session, there was no huge difference. I actually found myself becoming quite comfortable with the keyboard, as I mentioned before, after about an hour and 15 minutes of playing on the laptop. As I mentioned earlier in the video, I ran Siege offline, away from recording in Ultra to test it out against Very High. Obviously, it didn't get as high in FPS as Very High did. It didn't get in the 180 mark. It seemed to maintain approximately about 160 at its kind of highest, which is okay. 160 is still solid FPS. It seemed to maintain the same level of CPU and GPU performances on Ultra as opposed to Very High. There was almost kind of no difference between Ultra and Very High. And that about does it for me on the laptop's performance test for Rainbow Six Siege. I'll make sure to leave a link in the description to the full gameplay video that I did over on my Twitch channel. There'll be a link to the full highlight on twitch.tv over there for you guys to go and have a look at specific moments and things like that that you might be interested in that might not potentially have been covered in this video. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it was useful for you and you've learnt something that you did not know before and you learned some insight into the laptop. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to drop a like and subscribe to the channel to keep up with all the awesome content that I got planned for the future. And let me know what your favorite moment was, or if you have any questions, feel free to engage in discussion with me and the rest of the community in the comments section below. Thank you again so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Until next time, bye-bye.